As we get a little bit farther, you can see the ground does change up a little bit into this weird balloon-like vein structure. The boss for this area is another cluster of eyes. This time the eyes are a little bit more spread apart as far as the small ones go, but the core center is the exact same and our strategy remains. There's a few more enemies though to deal with this time, so it's a little bit tougher. However, just stand still and use your fire with your sword in order to actually destroy each eyeball individually, collecting health when you need it in order to finally get past it and complete this corridor. We now have 7 corridors complete, with only 3 more needing to be destroyed before we can actually complete the game. However, we still have a few of the extra corridors to complete as well. Work your way up here and enter this teleport at the top. This will take you back here, which will allow you to get out of Corridor 17. You'll now be back in this area. And on our way back, we're actually going to stop by a corridor that I actually have passed on the way to get here, which is Corridor 16. The worst enemies you really have to contend with, and starting from here, is these robot-like enemies that bounce around firing large lasers at you. Use your sword and get up close to them to destroy them fast before they're able to fire a lot of bullets at you. However, when there's a couple of them on screen at once, they can become a real pain, doing a lot of damage to you. Try to do your best to avoid the meteorites as well as doing damage to them, so that you can destroy a bunch of them enough that you can actually get some health in case you take any damage. These large red brain-like enemies are best to either avoid altogether, or get up close to them and hit them with your sword before they're actually able to explode. This boss is an extreme pain to take care of. While we've dealt with his 2 easier forms, this one's a lot harder because of his speed as well as his projectile is so large it covers the entire screen. Your best bet is to stay at the bottom and just try to move back and forth, avoiding the projectile as much as possible, and dealing your damage slowly. It's going to take a lot of time to defeat him this way, but it's worth it because you won't end up losing a life. On our way back, we're going to grab a health item if you do need it from the red box located on this screen. And then enter this door to go into buy the red chip lander from the shop, and then head through the left teleport. We're now back in the main area of Naiju, getting ready to head towards another new area. Head through this teleport in order to get back to the very first room of the game that we started with. Then head through the south teleport. Once here, we're going to head down to the left area in order to enter this teleport to make it to a new corridor. This is the home of corridor number 8. However, we have to skip it for right now, and we're going to actually go through another area to find another corridor. We'll get corridor 8 on our way back. In this room, it's time for another battle with one of the mini-bosses of the game. This one is a red version of that jumping, weird squid-like enemy that's a really big pain because of how he moves. However, stand in place with your laser as well as your normal gun, and you should be able to get past him. Once he's taken care of, we're now going to head over to the right and down. Go through this long path to get to the next corridor of the game. In this box, you'll get a blue lander, which will increase our health once again. Enter this teleport on the right side of the room in order to enter another room with the corridor of 18. We only have a few more corridors to go. By this point in the game, you've pretty much seen and done just about everything with the exception of a few different boss battles. The enemies really aren't going to change up, it's just the amount of speed they have, as well as the amount of them on screen. You've also by now gotten very much used to using your sword as well as your gun at the same time, and this becomes crucial if you're going to be able to get past some of these later areas. Try to do your best to destroy as many of the enemies as possible, and while you're taking damage, be sure to grab any of the health items that they do drop. The boss for this area is an extreme pain. This boss is very large, has a lot of projectiles, and can be hard to hit. Try to use a combination of your firing and sword when possible to actually be able to do damage to him, but don't stay really close to him or else you're just going to get bombarded with hits and take too much damage. You can use the blade coming out of the left and right side of you if you're good enough to get close by him and slowly move along with him. His eyes will slowly go away when you're seeing you're doing more damage to him, and when he's down to a single eye, you'll blast him a few more times, in which case that eye will go, and he'll turn orange, and a whole variety of projectiles will start flying out of him uncontrollably. It now becomes even harder to avoid the projectiles once he turns orange. So try to do your best to avoid him while continuing to fire when you get the opportunities,